Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to the second video for this week's 100k subscriber viewer suggested special. If you haven't seen part 1, be sure to check that out first. We'll leave a link in the description below. Also, be sure to let us know if you'd like to see more viewer suggested cases over the next couple of weeks. With that out of the way, let's get to the video. On January 19th, 2008, 19-year-old Brianna Denison was excited for another fun-filled day of winter holidays. With just over a week left on her break, the college sophomore was trying to make the most of her time with family and friends in Reno, Nevada, before she had to head back to school in California, where she was studying psychology at Santa Barbara City College. That day, Brianna went to see a movie with her mother Bridget, before returning home and taking a nap, as she would need all the rest she could get for that night's activities. At around 9 p.m. that evening, Brianna left to meet up with her friend, 19-year-old University of Nevada, Reno student KT Hunter. The two had been good friends since high school and liked to spend time together whenever Brianna was home visiting her family. After meeting at Hunter's home on McKay Court, just off the UNR campus, the two teenagers went to the Sands Regency Hotel and Casino, located just a short distance away. The hotel was hosting an annual college snowboarding festival organized by Summer Winter Action Tours, a company known for large events and trips marketed towards college and university students. It was the third year in a row that Brianna was attending the event. After arriving at the hotel, Brianna and Hunter traveled by bus to a rap concert that was the highlight of the night's festivities. When the concert was over, they went back to the hotel and had breakfast at Mel's Diner, before returning to Hunter's McKay Court home together around 4 a.m. While her friend went to sleep in her locked bedroom with her dog, Brianna set up her bed on the red leather couch just outside. Exhausted, she sent one final text message to her boyfriend in Oregon at 4:23 a.m. before falling asleep. Everything seemed fine until Hunter woke up at 9 a.m. and discovered that Brianna was nowhere to be found. Even more concerning, most of her belongings had been left behind, including her shoes, purse, cell phone, and most of her clothing. Most disturbing of all, there was a small amount of blood on Brianna's pillow. Extremely worried by what she found, Hunter called Brianna's mother, who told her to call police. When investigators arrived on the scene, Hunter told them that neither she nor her roommate had heard any signs of a struggle after going to sleep. Hunter's dog had never barked, and neither woman had woken up during the night. Because of the blood and the many personal items that had been left behind, police were doubtful that Brianna had left the home of her own free will. The temperature had been just above freezing that morning. Not the kind of weather anyone would have wanted to walk around in without adequate clothing, let alone with no shoes on. Brianna's family further claimed that she was extremely responsible and would have kept in touch if she had needed to leave her friend's house suddenly for any reason. Further investigation soon revealed the likely reason why Hunter and her roommate hadn't woken up during the suspected abduction. The couch where Brianna was sleeping that morning was just feet away from a glass door that had been left unlocked. Furthermore, the house's proximity to nearby Sierra Street, a heavy traffic area for both cars and pedestrians, meant that a substantial number of people would have had the opportunity to commit the crime. In the days immediately following Brianna's disappearance, police announced that they would be receiving help on the case from the FBI, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and the University of Nevada, Reno. The additional resources allowed them to set up several large search efforts for Brianna, as well as a 24-hour tip line to receive information from the public. At the same time, police announced what few leads they had in the case so far. The first piece of information concerned an unknown middle-aged man who had given a ride home to Hunter's roommate just 2 hours before she and Brianna had arrived there. The roommate had approached the man, who was a complete stranger, asked for a ride, and had gotten dropped off safely around 2 a.m. Though the roommate said the man did not come inside, police wanted to speak with him nonetheless. The second major piece of information related to speculation about 2 recent sexual assault cases that had happened on or near the UNR campus. The first had taken place in November of 2007 and involved a 21-year-old who had been groped by an unknown man while walking home. The second had taken place a month later. This time, the 22-year-old victim was knocked unconscious by the attacker and awoke to find herself being assaulted. After the attack, she was driven home by the perpetrator, but did not get a good look at his face. Aside from DNA evidence, the main things she was able to pass on to investigators were details about the perpetrator's car, as well as the fact that he had a baby's shoe in his vehicle. Because of the two cases' proximity to where Brianna had been abducted, and the fact that they both took place under the cover of darkness, it was theorized that they could be related to her disappearance. Days later, the public received updates about both of these leads. The first ended up being a dead end. The unknown middle-aged man was tracked down and interviewed by police, and was ruled out as a potential suspect. The second lead proved much more useful, but gave the case far darker implications. It turned out that DNA taken from the scene of Brianna's abduction was a match to samples taken from the December assault case. Not only were police now searching for a possible serial offender, but if the last victim had been released immediately after her attack, where was Brianna Denison? At roughly the same time news of the DNA evidence was reported, police announced that they had tested the unknown profile against the state and federal databases, but had failed to find any matches. Interviews with registered offenders in the surrounding area had also failed to produce any leads. However, scientists working at state crime labs told the media that there was a significant backlog of DNA profiles from convicted offenders that had yet to be added to these databases. It would take time to clear the backlog. Brianna's family, meanwhile, hoped that generating as much media coverage and publicity as possible would result in the 19-year-old's safe return. In heartbreaking interviews, they pleaded for her to be allowed to come home, and attempted to humanize Brianna to her unknown captor. Friends and family described Brianna as a goofball, with a feisty sense of humor and a kind and sincere heart. She was known for putting others above herself, and was the kind of friend who would always be the first to call if she felt that too much time had passed since they last spoke. She was also known for putting so much effort into planning events like sleepovers that she would often fall asleep soon after her guests arrived. Even her future career path had been born out of a desire to help others. She had chosen to study psychology because of how much therapy had helped her after the tragic death of her father when she was just 6 years old. Her dream was to become a child psychologist so that she could help others just like her. Thanks to the persistent efforts of Brianna's family, news of her abduction soon reached a national audience, with shows like America's Most Wanted covering the case. This significantly raised the profile of the investigation and resulted in more than $150,000 being donated to clear the backlog of DNA testing at the state crime labs. Meanwhile, the ground search for Brianna grew ever larger as more organizations and community volunteers jumped in to lend a hand. Even the First Lady of Nevada, Dawn Gibbons, came to join in the search. As the investigation rolled into February, police announced that they had linked another sexual assault case to the same unknown perpetrator. The woman said she had been attacked in a parking garage on the UNR campus in October, and was able to provide more information about the attacker. This led to a composite sketch of the suspect, which was released to the public. Though everyone remained hopeful that Brianna would soon be found alive, news of a second assault definitively linked to her disappearance sent a noticeable wave of panic through the community, especially on the UNR campus. Police attempted to reassure the public that the campus was safe, but this seemed to have little effect. Enrollment in self-defense classes skyrocketed, and school counselors told the media that more and more students were telling them about their efforts to obtain pepper spray and tasers. Then, on February 16, 2008, media made the announcement that everyone was dreading. A woman's body had been found in a brush-covered field in southeast Reno. The gut-wrenching news was confirmed the next day. The remains of Brianna Denison had officially been found. Brianna's lifeless body was discovered by a man returning from his lunch break around noon on February 15th. As he walked along the road, he noticed orange-colored fabric standing out among some tree limbs. When he approached the scene, he noticed that the orange fabric was actually a pair of socks that were on a pair of feet. An autopsy revealed that Brianna had been sexually assaulted and strangled to death. It also concluded that she had likely been killed more than a week before she was found. News of Brianna's murder caused a mass outpouring of grief for her and her family. In the days that followed, hundreds traveled to the site where her remains had been found to pay tribute to her life. Less than 2 weeks later, a memorial for Brianna at the Reno Sparks Convention Center would draw a crowd of more than 3,000. Though police received thousands of tips in the aftermath of Brianna's murder, few substantial developments would take place in the case in the following months. The only major reports were that police were able to link a fourth assault case to the unknown perpetrator, and that they now believed that he had a fetish for women's underwear. 2 pairs had been discovered at the scene of where Brianna's body was found, at least one of which contained the unknown man's DNA sample. During this time, refined descriptions of the man and his vehicle were released, but it seemed that police were no closer to uncovering his identity. Then, on November 1st, police got a tip that blew the case wide open. The tip was from an unknown woman who had called Secret Witness, a non-profit organization that helps to obtain anonymous information from concerned citizens and share it with law enforcement. The woman said that her friend, Carleen Harmon, had discovered a pair of thong underwear belonging to an unknown woman in her boyfriend's new truck in September. Harmon had reportedly made the discovery after the boyfriend, James Michael Bila, had returned to Nevada after briefly moving to Seattle for work. When investigators looked into Bila's background, they uncovered that he had a history of trouble both with women and with the law. The 27-year-old had been kicked out of the Marines for his drug use and was arrested in 2002 for threatening his former girlfriend and her neighbor with a knife. The incident took place after Bila's 4-month relationship with the ex had ended, when he showed up drunk at her house and ran over the mailboxes of her and her neighbor. After exiting the vehicle, he had threatened both of them with the knife. Though he was initially charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon, that charge was dropped as part of a plea agreement, and Bila eventually pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault instead. Further investigation revealed 3 additional facts that seemed to circumstantially tie Bila to Brianna's disappearance and murder. First, at the time the crime took place, Bila was working for a construction company that was doing a job on the UNR campus, meaning that he was in the area. Second, the vehicle that Bila owned prior to buying his new truck in Seattle matched the description of the perpetrator's vehicle given to police by the December 2007 assault victim. Lastly, Bila had a young son with his girlfriend Carleen Harmon, possibly explaining the presence of the baby's shoe in his vehicle the same victim had described. When police tracked down Bila and interviewed him, he denied any involvement and refused to provide a DNA sample. He also said that Harmon could provide him with an alibi for the night that Brianna was abducted. When authorities interviewed Harmon, they found her more willing to cooperate. It turned out that her 6-year relationship with Bila had been extremely turbulent, and she agreed to answer investigators' questions. Not only did Harmon say that she couldn't provide Bila with an alibi for the night of Brianna's abduction, she said that he had actually disappeared around that time. She said that he came back several days later, claiming that he had slept in his truck. Crucially, Harmon also allowed detectives to take a DNA sample from their son. The results showed that someone related to the young boy was a match to the unknown profile that they had been searching for. With this information and evidence in hand, police obtained a warrant for Bila's arrest, as well as a warrant to obtain his DNA. He was taken into custody on November 25, 2008, and DNA tests soon revealed that he was the unknown perpetrator. He was subsequently charged with murder, kidnapping, and 3 counts of sexual assault. Prosecutors also announced that they would be seeking the death penalty in the case. Almost a year and a half later, in May of 2010, Bila's trial began. During the proceedings, he was tried not only for the murder of Brianna Denison, but also for the assaults of the October 2007 and December 2007 victims. These were the two suspected assaults for which investigators had the strongest evidence, and would result in both women giving harrowing testimony at the trial. Though Biela's defense team attempted to cast doubt on the DNA evidence in the case, the overwhelming amount of facts and information presented by the prosecution, combined with the witness accounts, proved much more convincing to the jury. On May 27, 2010, James Biela was convicted on all charges. Before his sentencing, Biela and his family members testified that years of serious childhood abuse at the hands of his father had played a role in his crimes. This was in a desperate bid to avoid the death penalty. His mother, older brother, and sister described listening to nightly beatings and painted a picture of a terrifying home life where every little thing might set Biela's father off. The testimony failed to move the jury, however, and on June 2nd, they handed Biela a death sentence. In the aftermath of the verdict and sentence, family members of Brianna described their simultaneous relief and sadness. In an interview, Brianna's mother also said that she felt that the fight for justice in her daughter's death was not over. Before the case went to trial, the family had started the Bring Bree Justice Foundation, which aimed to raise awareness about personal safety and protection for women and children, and was symbolized through a blue ribbon campaign. The family had since began lobbying for tougher laws on offenders, particularly for a new law that mandated that DNA be collected from any person arrested for a felony. That law would come to be known as Brianna's Law and was passed in Nevada in 2013. Since his conviction, James Biela has tried to appeal his death sentence numerous times. So far, these attempts have been unsuccessful. According to the most recent information we could find, his latest appeal was denied in June of 2019. Do you know of any other cases like this that you think we should check out? Tell us about them in the comments section below. As always, if you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.